The year is 2021 and New Masters Academy is still the absolute #1 online art school on the planet. That's right, on the planet. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. I am in your mind. I am in your... Everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is the podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about why do artists hate NFTs so much? Oh no, NFTs! Everyone hide their children!
But before we get into it, make sure to like, jingle, touch all our bells and buttons, because it really does help the channel out. Please and thank you.
Thank you. First of all, how good do they look?
They look really good today.
How good?
Very good. And you're going to have a really, really great week.
A really great week.
Because you're listening to this podcast.
Nah, you're going to have a better week than me. You know why? I'm not sure if you noticed from the previous episode, but there's something really, really wrong with me. I just wanted to bring out for your attention, just so I can, be ahead of the stories that they'll write about me.
Okay.
This is real. So, this is real.
If you're listening to the podcast version, Vincent is showing his face really close to camera, and you can see his widow's peak is just a little tuft of hair.
So before we went to Arizona to shoot guns, I wanted to look presentable for my love because, it was our Valentine's Day vacation or whatever it was. But the guy, right before he was going to let me go, I was like pretty okay with my haircut. I was like, oh, hey, not so bad. He takes off the stuff to keep your neck clean from your hairs and stuff. And then right before he goes, but this is like right here. So I wanted to, just talk about it real quick because I'm going to have to cut my hair soon because this is getting ridiculous. It looks like I have hair underneath. It looks like I have hair underneath my hair.
It looks like a cowlick, like in anime, where like some people have like a little like thingy, a hair thingy in front of their face, and it looks really cool in anime, but like
okay, so let's just talk.
Okay,
let's talk about this. Why do artists hate NFTs so much?
Well, first,
it's practically the boogeyman to the art community right now.
Yeah, right now. First, I think we need to talk about what they are, in case there are any people listening who have no idea what.
Yeah, there's probably a ton of people who are going, what's an NFT?
I'll just start with, it's basically like cryptocurrency, and there are different kinds of cryptocurrency. So let's start with Bitcoin, because it's the easiest to understand. Bitcoin is
You've probably heard of it by now.
Yeah,
right?
Most people have heard of Bitcoin, and it's basically like digital gold. The same way gold is equal to a certain amount of money in real life, Bitcoin is like a digital version of that, and it's equal to a certain amount of money in real life.
Investor types like Kiyosaki love this stuff.
Yes.
They practically encourage all of you to invest in it.
Anyone who thinks the stock market is going to crash, because it always crashes every few decades, I advise that you invest in gold, silver, and Bitcoin, which is what Kiyosaki is always saying on Twitter.
It's almost every other tweet, right?
Yeah. Even if it's not every other tweet, he goes like, oh, the Bitcoin prices are falling. Time to buy more Bitcoin. So that's fairly simple to understand. There are a lot of different types of cryptocurrency. So the next biggest one, in my opinion, is Ethereum. But not all cryptocurrencies are equal because they are made for different things. And I truly didn't understand the difference until I made my first NFT. But Ethereum is very different from Bitcoin. People who are uninitiated, who just hear about cryptocurrency, think they're the same thing.
You need to explain this, and you're doing a great job so far, but I'd hope for you to explain this in the plainest, simplest terms possible to keep this extremely clear for artists who just like are allergic to money talk. Right?
I'm going to try my best to explain it so that like a grade schooler would understand it, or
a third grader.
I guess. Someone who understands the term contracts, signing things, signing your name to things. You have to get your parents to sign stuff.
Like when your parents get married, sign a contract.
Yeah. So Ethereum has a built-in use to it. It's similar to a contract. It's worth money, yes, similar to like Bitcoin is worth money, but it's not necessarily like digital gold because it's more like a contract that you sign. For example, when you buy a house, you have to sign a bunch of documents to say to the government, the county, whoever controls us, that your person, you own this house. Same thing with a car. If you buy a car, you probably have to sign a lot of documents. You have a title or whatever that you sign that's like you own this car. When you get married, there's a document that you sign. You're married. When you're born, you have your birth certificate.
Yeah, right.
So it's kind of like that. Ethereum's invention was kind of made for that purpose. It wasn't necessarily made to compete with like Bitcoin as like digital currency. So what people have found a use for with Ethereum is to create NFTs, which are basically like when you create a piece of art in like a fine art gallery, let's say you make an edition of prints, they might like give it a stamp of approval that says like this is an original piece by Andy Warhol, and if you buy it, you have an original. It's that stamp. And it's allowed digital artists to be able to sell their work as originals, because before you can just make copy and copy and copy of it
in the way a gallery does in Beverly Hills or something. Because like technically, yes, like anyone can technically print out a Andy Warhol like picture from the internet or whatever. You can technically own an image of it, but you don't have an original. Like there's still ways to determine this is an Andy Warhol original. Now in the digital space, you're starting with this new like crypto technology. It's allowed digital artists to do that. So Janet Chan, when was the very first time you heard of this concept? You might have not heard it called an NFT, but you definitely heard this tech.
Oh yeah.
Not this year, not even last year.
No. This was years ago.
When was the first time you heard about NFTs?
So I had a coworker at Disney who is like the crypto guy. He was really obsessed.
We learned so much because you would relay all this crypto information back to me.
So like again, like I've probably explained before, but I'll explain again. When I am in a classroom or at a workplace, I try to be friends with everyone, but in particular the weirdos that people don't want to be friends with, because they're people too, and usually they're just
the Miltons. If you don't understand who we're talking about, we're talking about the Miltons from Office Space, the stapler guy.
Yes.
It's good to be friends with those guys.
Yes, and if you've watched Office Space, you'll understand why.
Yes.
But I won't explain it.
You need to watch it for
yourself. You
need
to watch it, yeah.
Fantastic movie.
Very good movie. So this guy, I remember a lot of people warned me about certain people at
Disney.
Work.
At Disney, they were like, that guy, ooh, you don't want to talk to that guy.
Yeah.
You won't be able to leave a conversation. That guy's going to talk your head off.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
About Bitcoin.
Specifically.
And I was like, oh, that's so ridiculous. This is silly. Like, why ostracize each other at the work? Like, it was just like high school. Oh, don't be friends with them. Like,
they're weird. They're the weirdo.
You don't want
All
to
they talk about is crypto.
You don't want to be associated with them. And I'm like, oh, why not? That seems harsh. So I became friends with him. And he like come over to my cubicle, and he would like distract me from work for hours on end talking about Bitcoin. But I learned a lot about Bitcoin.
Yeah. Whether you liked it or not.
Yeah. So he was talking to me about this new tech that allows you.
And this was 2018, I think.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And he's friends with a lot of people in this space. And he was talking to me about how there's this new tech that, like, you understand Bitcoin, right? Well, you can kind of use that same technology where, like, both anonymously that you, a certain person, owns a certain thing. People are trying to figure out how to do that with art. And then I was like, oh, that seems cool. I was still kind of confused about what this was, because it wasn't a clear idea the way he explained it to me. And I was like, it'd be cool if like someone made it possible for it to just happen. Like I didn't need to like do all that much coding or whatever. Like what if, they just like made it like it attached to the art, like when you saved it in Photoshop or something or whatever. And then he was like, I need to put you in touch with some of my friends. But then I never showed all that much enthusiasm in Bitcoin and crypto and all that stuff at the time. So he just like tried to like educate me on crypto in general and all this stuff. But a lot of it was like
Chinese,
too much for me.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, 2020, the pandemic hits, and this technology is like pushed forward by like years, because suddenly we kind of need new tech that doesn't necessarily need people to be around each other, people to be in galleries and events and all this stuff. And that is how I learned about it.
I remember you explain it to me. I think we were living in the apartment and we were in the elevator and you were telling me all this stuff, and it's just like every day you tell me something new this coworker has talked to you about with crypto and stuff. And when you told me this, I remember thinking like, man, the world, this is like the future, man. This is like future levels of future where like you think it's going to be like Back to the Future 2 where you have flying cars, but this is like to have an original digital piece, whatever it is I would have never thought that or imagined that in a million years. So if you had a time machine, if you had a time machine DeLorean, would you go back in time 2018 and somehow tell yourself that even though you think this is just some weird fad, it could be just something that comes and goes, to try it? Would you?
Yeah, I would. I would have told myself, I know this sounds almost like too good to be true and really complicated, because like most artists aren't also tech geeks and coders and all this stuff. Get him to like at least teach you how to start investing in Bitcoin and just get your feet wet with that stuff, because it wasn't like I wasn't interested. Like even at that time, I wanted to invest in crypto. I just thought it was too complicated.
And I just think you didn't know how to fit it in your portfolio.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know
how to make this work.
Yeah. And I was trying to save money, because Bitcoin and crypto in general is kind of treated like stock, and any investment in stock, it's risky. And at the time I was thinking about leaving, so I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready to take that risk.
It's like double risk.
Yeah, because I'm trying to leave.
Right.
If I'm if I'm trying to save money, but I'm also trying to invest. That's a little bit, yeah. So I was like, maybe later. But I really should have just learned, because if I had learned back then, oh my God, I'd be so much more wealthy right now.
So we didn't plan for it, but do you want to talk real quickly about your experience minting your first NFT? That's what they call it, I think, right?
Yes.
When you take your art and instead of having it as a basic reproducible digital, let's say JPEG or whatever, PNG, you turn it into this thing that can't be reproduced.
Yeah, so I created my Genesis NFT, because that's what they call it.
You went all the way. You raised your hand in some clubhouse rooms.
Yes.
Ooh, I have things to say.
I have questions.
And typical Janet fashion, came on too strong. Probably made the entire room super uncomfortable. I was playing Call of Duty and I could feel the uncomfortableness of the rest of the people in the clubhouse room because you just, went, I'm here, I'm Janet.
I'm here,
I have questions.
Please help me. And
No, hi, hello.
You told me that I come on too strong and I go like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. And you're saying you think it's because I'm too self-confident and people can sense that, and I'm like, I still have no idea what you're talking about.
You don't even know that you're self-confident. You don't even know that you're confident. You just are.
I just exist.
If you imagine it, Janet basically was at a forum, let's say like a TED Talk, and they were offering it up to the audience, right? Janet basically raised her hand and said, oh, hi, hello, I have questions. That's how basically she behaved in this clubhouse. And then right when you think like it's over and they want to pass it to somebody else, you would go, oh, so I never thought about it like that. What do you think about this thing? It would just like never end. You've been in those presentations before where that one person has the mic and you're like groaning. You're like, oh God.
Well, I would pause and I'd let other people talk, but no one would dare talk. So I'd be like, okay, I'll just keep going then.
They're waiting for you to say thank you. They're waiting for you to say thank you. Thank you for the help.
I did.
But then like much later.
I would say thank you and then I'd pause. And then they would be like, any more questions from anyone else? Pause.
And then you would
and then I'd be like, if no one else is gonna ask questions, I guess I'll take up some more time. So yes, I minted my first NFT, and it was a very interesting learning experience. And this goes into the whole contract thing too. I truly didn't understand what that meant until I really dove into this world. You have to basically sign every action that you do. So
you explained this to me over breakfast yesterday, and I thought it was crazy.
Yeah.
It basically, your NFT, your work of art, basically logs in every single internet interaction, like a like or a comment or something like that, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
It
becomes part of the thing.
Yeah.
Part of the package.
You have your, I guess, numerical, like, number. You have a number assigned to you. You can have several, but let's say you have your number. You have to use your number and sign every single action that you do, because that's your number is kind of like your name. That's how they know it's you without knowing it's you.
It's like serial number, social security.
Yeah, but they don't know who it is. Like, they don't know it's me. Like, if you don't want to make your identity known, you don't have to. But they just know that this person exists somewhere in the digital space as this number, and that person used their name to sign all these actions. So as you move through this space, if you like NFT, for example, you have to sign that you liked it. So it's telling this kind of like ledger or diary, let's say, document that so-and-so liked this image. And that, I realized, is actually kind of really secure, because if you understand how social media works on every other space, like Instagram, YouTube, wherever, you can quickly realize that anyone can buy likes and followers and engagement and a lot of things. You literally can. People have built bots that they've monetized to help people, if you want to pay them, just make fake engagement, fake likes, fake comments, fake everything. You can't really do that with crypto, because in these platforms you have to sign a physical name to like a person. Like
it's almost like, I hereby decree like this NFT.
Yeah. And it's simultaneously anonymous and secure, and it's really interesting the way this technology works. Like every single action that you do, you kind of have to sign it. And it was really fascinating to me, because I immediately saw its uses far beyond what it's currently being used for, which is NFTs, art, and all this stuff. Like, you can, I'll explain later, but yeah, this is, in my opinion, the future of where we're going as human beings.
And the whole pandemic pretty much accelerated where we were going.
Yeah,
Really fast.
I think this tech wouldn't have been possible at this rate and so widely adopted if it weren't for the pandemic. I think the pandemic made it just a necessity. Like, people really started looking into digital ways of doing things.
So, 20 minutes in, or something like that, hopefully we sold you onto why you think, at least, it's important. What's the criticisms behind these NFT things?
Well...
And I'm speaking, by the way, as like the every person. I don't really care about these things. I had a coworker back in Starburns who was really into this. And I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't put a little bit of money because it was a lot cheaper in 2017.
Yeah, you would have doubled your money.
Oh, yeah. But,
if
you
not
know,
more.
I'm just like most artists, we're just like, money, sign, don't like it.
And it is pretty complicated to actually get into, but the criticisms. None of this is validated or verifiable. So...
What? Are you sure you're not spreading fake news, Jan Chan?
I might be. I don't know. You do your research. But
good answer.
I've been listening to Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman, and I highly recommend it if you like books on psychology and learning about how human beings and your mind works. If you want to listen to this book, which it's 18 hours, it'll last you a long time, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you'll get a free trial of Audible. You'll get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible original audiobooks. That's audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. A lot of people are saying that they're bad for the environment because it takes a lot of energy, like server electrical energy, to create an NFT. And it's supposedly even worse than Bitcoin because the amount of energy it takes to create a one of a kind thing or 100 of this thing is a lot more energy use or something like that. And it was popularized by, I think, this one artist, French artist. I don't know if he was the first one to talk about this in a blog post, but he's like known for being environmentally conscious. And then he made his first NFT and then realized after the fact that he contributed to ruining the environment. So he worked with some coder or website developer to basically create a website that shames artists and lists out this NFT consumed this much energy. And so like you can literally go in there in that website and type up different artists and their impact on the environment, and he says, oh, this is totally not to shame artists, but
what kind of Chinese communist bullshit is that, man? Shaming people? What the fuck is this?
Yeah,
shame on you, you f***ing ruin nature and shit.
Yeah.
That's crazy. When you told me this, I was outraged. I was just like, the amount of time and effort it takes to just ruin people. This is like disgusting.
Yeah, like it's one thing to be like, oh, I feel like I did a bad and I'm going to not do a bad now.
Right.
And then it's another thing to write a blog article about it. And then it's another thing to create a whole website dedicated to shaming other artists who continue doing this.
Seems as though that's not even like being environmentally conscious isn't even the whole point of this website.
No.
It seems like, the point is to freak artists out into discouraging them into doing NFTs.
Yes. And so that's one criticism. Another one is that it's a pyramid scheme, which I don't really understand this one criticism, other than like they've latched on to the fact that there's a royalty system to it. So like if you sell an NFT, you can designate that NFT can give you a 10%, 20%, 30% royalty if the person who bought it from you resells it. So you get money even after the fact. I think they've latched on to that and is like, oh, it's a pyramid scheme, which I don't think that's the definition of a pyramid scheme. It just isn't. And then there are other things, like people have started, it's like a game of telephone where they are trying to extrapolate more bad things and like come up with random things that now I'm getting to really like unverified, almost like conspiracy theory territory here, where like people are saying like it hurts indigenous people.
What?
And I think the argument for this one is most of the servers that create this energy for this for crypto in general are in China, and they actually, most of the energy used to run crypto is using renewable energy. So there's this like place where they need to use like hydro whatever, like water to get energy, and like I don't know, they maybe displace people in order to flood the cities or whatever. Again, this is very hard to explain because none of this has been verified or true, or I don't know where they came up with this. I genuinely don't know.
So you'd look through these comments for some of this content and you'd be flabbergasted. You'd be like, what is this?
I at first I would try to verify it, and then I just was like, I literally think some people just made some stuff up. And all of this is really kind of interesting to me because all of this came out around the same time. All this negative press.
I remember the day. You've been researching NFTs for the past 2 weeks.
Months,
yeah. Just for a while since before this day happened. When this day happened, you first heard of the animosity through YouTube or something like that, and then you saw art like Mashable, The Verge, Gizmodo.
Mm-hmm. But then again, it's like it's The Verge, it's Gizmodo, it's Mashable.
And they all posted at the same time too. You saw that there was literally zero talk of the environmental impact of NFTs prior to this moment, where there was a fleet of articles that came out of nowhere.
Yeah. One, I was already very skeptical because of the sources that they came from. Are you really going to get your news from Mashable? Are you really? And then on top of that, like, I don't think people understand the difference between news and opinion pieces. Like, journalists have different job titles, and some of them are literally to write their personal opinion in this news publication. So like I think maybe the Washington Post has an opinion piece on it, but I'm not sure. But opinion is just a journalist's opinion. It's probably like some 24-year-old who is writing their opinion about some nonsense. Should we take their opinion seriously? Depends. Up to you. It's their opinion, though. It's the equivalent to reading a blog article, post, whatever. And then there's news, which it's up to you whether you trust news or not in general, and depending what source you're going to. But news occasionally is framed a certain way depending on who you go to.
And their agenda.
Yeah, which is why, if you had a good English teacher in high school or whatever, they tell you, like, when you're writing an essay, to have multiple sources from multiple different types of people, because you don't just want to be getting your news from, like, Wikipedia and just assume it's true. So I looked at all that and I was like, okay, this seems very alarmist. And then I will link to the video probably in the comments down below, because I was looking into this and I think Noealz. No, I forget how to pronounce his name. He's a photographer in the NFT space, and he has been in this space far longer than I've been researching it. And I think he has a video that explains the hyperbole of a lot of this stuff really well. One of the problems I had with this French artist's blog post, and honestly a lot of the journalists' opinion pieces, is I think they fundamentally don't understand a lot of things about how crypto works and how energy works. But they compared creating an NFT as a jet plane running for 2 weeks straight or something like that. So when you hear that, that sounds really scary. That sounds like, oh no, like I don't want to contribute to that. Like if you're a person who's environmentally, at least not even environmentally conscious, is someone who like doesn't want to hurt anyone or anything, doesn't want to like be a bad person. But what that removes is any kind of like context. What does it mean for like the energy of a jet plane running for 2 weeks straight? Because if you really think about it, jet planes run 2 weeks straight all the time. Like literally,
there's hundreds and hundreds now as we speak.
There are hundreds of planes taking off as we speak, and like I was like, okay, that in my head, that doesn't mean anything to me. It just sounds scary. So what this guy explains is that, okay, let's compare it to something that's more like tangible. What is the energy consumption compared to a lot of other things in the world? And he literally could not really even find a chart that shows crypto as a whole, not even NFTs, all of crypto, its impact on the world, because literally everything else is more impactful. But he eventually did find a chart, and it was like 0.000 something percent. Like that's the impact of crypto, everything. And another thing that the artist gets wrong is that he says something like each NFT has a certain like numerical number impact or whatever. That's not necessarily true, because if you understand anything about these servers are on whether you make an NFT or not. That's kind of how the internet works. Like the reason why YouTube was so revolutionary when YouTube happened back in 2006, if you remember, if you were alive and sentient like an adult back then, before YouTube, it was really hard to host video on anything. Like that's why like YouTube was such a big deal, because you can host video. You don't like it was really like, that's why Twitch is actually a really big deal at the time too. Like not only can you now host video, you can live stream video. Yeah. That's really difficult to do because of energy, and how do you do that? So YouTube eventually got to where we are now, where we can like upload hours of content.
Do you remember when you could only have like about 10 minutes max? And people would have to have part 2, part 3, part 4, that kind of stuff.
And like if you tried to upload like more than a few minutes of video, it would just take days.
Yeah.
Those were the days of early internet. So imagine the amount of servers and energy it takes to run YouTube, to run Google, to literally run Google.
Apple,
anything.
Yeah.
Literally, YouTube far exceeds the amount of energy consumption NFTs create. So a lot of this, a lot of people who aren't even really in the space commenting on this space, do they own crypto? Do they know the first thing about crypto? Did they do anything other than read like really scary things about something without any context? I don't think so, because none of them, especially when I started getting into it heavily, like actually participating in it, I realized exactly like how unknowledgeable a lot of these journalists and people talking about it are. and how in a lot of ways how not knowledgeable I am. Like, I'm only just getting into it. So like that's why in the Clubhouse thing I was like, oh, I want answers for this, and what about this, and what about this. Like, I wanted to learn so much. But right now people are actively trying to get artists who don't have, this isn't an insult by the way, who don't have the ability to think critically about this, simply because their life has been art. We are knowledgeable about drawing and painting, all this stuff, tech and all that stuff. Scary. I don't know. You try to explain these concepts to them. I'm sure people like avoided, I don't know, this topic. I don't know. But if you just tell them, oh, it's bad for the environment, oh, that's easy to understand. And I have been listening to Thinking Fast and Slow, and it's amazing. I think whoever controls people or government, whatever, media, they've read this book, because there's literally a chapter in this book about this. Every decade, there is new tech, and there are studies that show that when people think new tech is harmful, they're less likely to adopt it. If people think new tech is not harmful, they are more willing to adopt it.
So explain some of the animosity towards cryptocurrency. Why certain people would be mad at it. And why, I don't know, why somebody who would know that knowledge would poison the well.
Well, this goes into like, there are different types of people in the crypto space. And right now, with NFTs, there are the artists, obviously, because you need the art to create the NFTs. And then there are the tech nerds, the coders, the people who truly, I think, are the ones who understand this technology the best. And then there are the investors, who treat this like they are investing in the future. The same way, honestly, the same way the internet was treated, with a lot of hyperbole and scare tactics. YouTube, everything. Like, they would say like, oh, don't trust the internet, you're gonna meet some bad people, and whatever. Like, they would
predators, watch out.
And they would shame
viruses,
and,
oh no, malware.
And people would shame people who would like date, the first people who would date online, and think they're a bunch of weirdos and stuff like that.
Who meets people on the internet?
So they
Match.com, man. Wow.
So they do this with all new tech. I'm not all that surprised with crypto, but crypto is a little bit different, because this takes an extra level of understanding. If you're an artist, I don't blame artists for being a little bit ignorant and only caring about the art of things, because that's our MO. Whether you're a musician or artist, whatever, we only care about ourselves. Go figure. But if you care about politics, if you care about the world and subjects beyond yourself, like, I'm interested in investing, I'm interested in tech, I'm interested in a lot of politics, a lot of things. Now you'll understand why people hate crypto. Crypto is decentralized currency, and if that scares you, that big term, don't worry. Decentralized just means no one controls it. It means that if you want to buy something with it, in a way it can be super anonymous, which means it's very hard to tax. Because right now, if you wanted to go to the gas station, buy a bag of chips or whatever, you get taxed. You get sales taxed. And in California, it's a lot of sales tax. And the gas station at tax season has to report that to the government, and the government's like, Uncle Sam, I want some of that. I want some of that money to blow up kids. And that's why a lot of libertarians and people who are very anti-government are really into this. It gives people freedom to control their own money without having to tell the government every single transaction that you do, because that's simply what it is. Like, let's say if a lot of you haven't worked for the first time before, it's kind of like that too. Like, if someone wants to pay you, they can just pay you.
Janet Chan, why are some restaurants cash only?
Because they don't want to pay taxes. That's why.
Okay. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anybody.
I don't mind it.
So you'd think that there's some animosity towards this new technology.
Yes, because guess who would be most upset by this? The
Uncle
government.
Sam. Yeah. Everyone's best friend.
takes 30% of your money every year. If you work hard, you put in your hours, you do what you got to do to put food on the table and a roof over your head, but Uncle Sam wants 30% to keep a roof over their heads.
So punk rock.
Yeah.
I love you.
Oh my god.
That was so hot. Wow. Butterflies. Armpits are sweaty now.
Oh my god. So the government actually, recently we heard in other news that the government's actually legitimately trying to sue and shut down some of these crypto companies. And I wonder why. They're not doing anything wrong, but it's kind of upsetting to know that the government is actively trying to squash competition over their own currency. Because what's wrong with having a separate currency?
Also, there are certain influencers who are giving the government also a hard time with this crypto.
Like Elon Musk. During the game stonks thing, that's the perfect example of, like, people were sticking it to the man and to the Wall Street hedge fund people. A bunch of Wall Street people were betting that GameStop is going to fail. So they were, like, pushing the price of GameStop stocks down, artificially, I guess. And then a bunch of people were like, "Hey, you can't do that." And they they gathered together. This normal, average, everyday people gathered together and was like, "We're gonna, like, mess with them." And it's also an easy way for us to make money on top of it, because if you bet against them, they basically have to pay you. So a lot of people got very, very, very rich messing with Wall Street hedge funders.
Oh yeah, it was glorious to watch.
And it's interesting to see the establishment, basically everyone on the government side that they control, were trying to manipulate people, average everyday people, to act a certain way. So if you're interested in the investment world, you will see time and time again in the media, people will try to manipulate what they call unsophisticated investors. And that's not an insult. That's literally the term for someone who is new to investing. That's what investors call them.
Like Scrub in Call of Duty.
Kind of, yeah. Or noob or whatever. Yeah. But it's not really meant to be an insult. Right. It's just a term. And they always will put hit pieces out on certain stocks, or like, oh, the stock market isn't doing well. And I was reading the Intelligent Investor book, which is, I think, the book every single investor should read, and stock picker, and like basically everyone who is knowledgeable about investing reads that book. They're saying, like, this happens all the time. Intelligent investors don't fall for it. But when that was happening, a lot of the same journalists that I mentioned earlier, who were like shitting on crypto, were also shitting on the GameStonks people. Like, oh, they're throwing away their money. These speculators don't know what they're doing. This is very, very, very dangerous.
So I want you to be as specific as possible. Who are cryptocurrency's worst enemies? Which organizations, which factions?
Media.
Why?
Because they basically are, at this point, propagandists for the government, and the government in general. Because the government has
by and large
every incentive to not like crypto, because they have no control over it. And the government wants control over something if they don't have control over it.
Oh yeah.
So, like, it's not surprising to me that they either want control, want a little, like, piece of the cake, or they want to shut it down because, and they'll sell you anything.
Or slow it down,
Yeah.
at the very least.
But the thing is, kind of like the internet, where, like, you can't really control it.
Also, Streisand effect.
Yeah. People will get into it. One of the more interesting things that I noticed as I was researching a lot of this stuff was in the art community, there are not just artists, but also musicians who are into the NFT space. And I was really curious. I was seeing a lot of backlash because, artists tend to be really gullible towards the news, I have to say. Especially like never mind. Artists tend to be really gullible when reading the news because they're not into data, or they've never learned how to read.
Very emotional
data.
people.
Yes.
These people.
They're
very sensitive. That's why they're really good at what they do.
Yes,
right?
Which is why it's easy in a way to manipulate them with media, movies, and culture and all that stuff.
I think they're the easiest to manipulate by and large.
Yes.
An artist. Yeah.
Yes.
Imagination, empathy, sensitivity.
Yeah. What's surprising to me, honestly, is artists used to be very anti-establishment. Like, you think about all artists, we still consider ourselves anti-establishment. It's just that a lot of artists don't realize that they're not.
Yeah. They're the McDonald's, stamp of approval, anti-establishment.
Yes. Like, I really question a lot of artists when they're like, the man, but also vote for Biden. Like, you realize Biden is the literal man.
He is the man.
He is the man.
Dilo Biden.
Yes.
The boss.
Like, how more pro-establishment can you get? But I don't know. It's bizarre to me. But so I was interested to see that, like, in this NFT space, musicians are really getting into it as well. And I checked. The same animosity, so like if you post anything about NFTs on social media as an artist, specifically as like an illustration artist, like a 2D traditional flat artist, like not 3D artist, let's say, you will get like ripped to shreds. Especially if you're bigger, you'll have people telling you like, oh, you're destroying the environment, you're a bad person, or whatever. Unfollow as if your follow mattered to me. And I was like, I wonder if musicians get this. So I went to the musician niche. They're all supportive. They're all supporting each other. They're like super excited. They
embracing it like it's the future.
Yes, because it is.
For example, I was listening to Timbaland's Beat Club on the Twitch, and he was just talking about like how everybody needs to be more forward thinking. We're entering a new age in the future, and he's like, I was already on NFTs. I've been on that for a while.
Yeah,
and it just sounds like, oh man, when you heard about NFTs, a lot of these wealthier types.
They were on it.
They were on it. They didn't want us, normal. They didn't want the rabble to know.
Yeah.
But, they were on it.
Yeah, so, like, musicians, it's really fascinating to see the difference in communities. And I love researching all different. I'm such a weird human being.
You look at people like it's a zoo.
Yeah.
And you go, what the hell?
Yeah. And so, like, I like fitness, so I look into the fitness niche and what is happening there, and I love investing and tech and music and all this stuff. So it's really fascinating to see the differences between niches and communities. And I have to say, artists are one of the more toxic
bottom
communities.
5?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I think the most is probably fitness.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Second is probably beauty.
Yeah.
But artists are pretty up there too.
Pretty down there.
Yeah. And it's fascinating to me. And I think musicians in a way are more forward thinking. So like we said, we talked about like Timbaland. He was already on it. And like I made a list of just top of the head people that were in on NFTs. I believe like they hit when the iron was hot, but that means they knew about this far in advance.
A while.
Yeah, because they wouldn't have been so ready if they didn't know. So, for example, Timbaland, Kings of Leon, recently I think released an album, their first NFT album. Grimes, Elon Musk, obviously. Mark Cuban is currently investing in a lot of companies of Shark Tank fame. Gary Vee, he has been, so I'm an avid listener of Gary Vee about 2 years ago, I would say, and he'd been talking about Bitcoin and crypto for a while. He doesn't talk about it very often at the time because, again, you know, the people in the know don't necessarily want you in the know, you the normal person, until they're ready for you to be in the know.
We'll get there someday, babe.
Yeah, one day, hopefully.
Yeah.
And then DocuSign, for example. DocuSign is a company that is specifically makes money through creating documents to sign digitally. They are currently investing in this technology heavily because if you understand how I explained it before, the reason why I think crypto is the future is not because of NFTs. NFTs could go away at any second. I'm well aware of that. It could be a really hot money maker for some people right now, but it could be nothing in the near future. Who knows? It's new tech. It's growing and changing every single day as we speak. But this tech has so many more uses beyond NFT. Like I said, when you buy a house, what if DocuSign now, instead of sending you documents to send to keep in your local county or the government, where like you guys don't understand, when you buy a house, you have so many documents that you need to sign and keep forever. What if they just send you something via crypto and you just have to like use your crypto signature and sign it? What if marriages are connected this way in the future? What if literally any kind of document or contract that you sign, I believe that this tech will be used in that way. And the proof is that these companies and these people far more successful and intelligent than you or I could ever fathom are really heavily investing in this new tech. I wouldn't argue with that. Yeah. I wouldn't bet against that, especially when so many intelligent people all together. I would say, like, if one person, like, if only Elon Musk gave it about this, I'd be like, oh, it's just Elon Musk, whatever. But when like this person, all these very rich, wealthy, intelligent human beings are like in all different facets and different industries are going, are going, this is the future. I wouldn't bet against that.
It'd be extremely foolish.
Yes. But artists are not knowledgeable in a lot of these things, so they are just will go with whatever establishment narrative that people want to peddle to them. So when I say that there is the social proof of like all these intelligent people are getting in on this, learning how to do this, I was like, okay, I understand that there is inherently a risk to this, simply because it's kind of like stocks. I will probably lose money, whatever. Yeah. Whatever. I am an adult. I will figure it out for myself.
And you will live and learn.
Yeah, I will live and I will learn instead of just going like,
and moaning about it on the internet.
Yeah, instead of being like, oh, so-and-so told me it was bad, so I guess I'll avoid it. So another thing too, I think a lot of artists, they are parroting things because they're virtue signaling. When you hear them speak about NFTs or crypto in general, do you think they know how to get a wallet? Do you think they know how to get some Bitcoin? I don't think they know how to do any of those things, but they want to have their 2 cents and be like, I'm a good person, don't hack me. That's what I think. But I was like, first of all, I don't care about any of your opinions about me. I'm just trying to live my life. And I was like, okay, well, I I think this is the tipping point for me where like I avoided getting into crypto for so long, for years, because it just seemed too difficult. But finally, I have a really good reason to spend hours of my time figuring out how to do this.
Money too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Money too. So I was like, okay, baby steps here. I'm not a genius. I learning how to get a wallet and where to invest and where to get all these things, it was a headache for me.
And it's not something you would necessarily recommend to anyone.
No, I recommend, like stocks, you only invest money, and it's an investment. This is something artists don't understand either. Investment, like people are upset that it takes, let's say, like a few $100 or $100 to mint an NFT. It takes a lot more money to invest in stocks and index funds, like thousands of dollars. Okay, like I think a lot of these artists are very young, and I think a lot of them, maybe they're 18, early 20s. They don't have the money to invest, and they think $100 is a lot of money and a ripoff. And I'm kind of like, if it's $100 that I lose as a learning experience to learn how to invest in this thing that I think is the future, like this is what we're going to be using in the future, then whatever, $100 well spent. I've spent more on food.
We spent more on classes that really didn't help us at all.
As artists, yeah. Yep. Like some drawing teachers were kind of bad, some painting teachers were kind of bad, and we've spent a lot of money on courses and classes that were a complete waste of money. $100 to learn how to get into crypto is not that big a deal. So I started teaching myself how to do all this stuff, and I learned a lot. One of the most important things I learned, one of the good things I learned about getting into this crypto space is how to invest in crypto, simply. And like I've already made money. Like,
wow.
Like it's kind of scary how the market fluctuates. It's much more volatile than like the stock market and stuff like that. But it's like, wow, some people are getting really wealthy off of this stuff if they know how to do it. But it took hours of my time. And if I had waited, let's say, to mass adoption, to like the general public knows exactly what NFTs are, they know exactly how to get Bitcoin, and it becomes really, really easy, whatever, it would already be too late. I'd have to like do hours of research then and not now. Now I'm doing it before a lot of people even understand how to do it, and they don't even want to. They're like, scary, it's bad. So that's one thing. I'm really happy that now I have the tools to be like, oh yeah, I have some Bitcoin. Oh yeah, I have some Ethereum. I know if there's any much more lucrative Bitcoin or crypto or whatever in the future. It wouldn't
be too hard to look into.
No, I know kind of generally the steps to it and to how to think about it. And that's far more important than whatever fears people have about it. And I made money, so
hey, it always makes you happy.
Yeah. And without literally kind of like investing in stocks without doing anything, just putting my money there and like seeing it grow.
Capital is big.
Yeah. It taught me it forced me to get into After Effects, to learn how to animate certain things. And I generally know how to animate in 2D, which takes a whole lot of work, and I avoided for the longest time touching After Effects because a lot of people in motion design, they're very, very good at it, and I was like, I cannot hope to be anywhere near as good as you.
Also, we also thought like, we could just hire a friend.
Yeah.
But then we realized, it's probably better, faster, cheaper. Learn it ourselves.
Yeah. Or at least to know something about it. And I realized it's actually pretty simple. And I kind of got into it. So I added a new skill to my skill tree. If we want to talk in like video game terminology, I now can add like After Effects, at least a little bit to my skills. I not only know how to draw, paint, edit video, film video, do all this stuff with video. I know how to animate, or even teach myself how to be a better animator with After Effects. So that's something I would have never gotten into if it weren't for NFTs. Because once you get into it, you start realizing, okay, this new form of art is kind of different. Yes, you can just sell your digital painting, let's say, as an NFT, but that doesn't take full advantage of the digital medium. What you can do is like add music to it, add effects, add animations. The fact that you can do this, it's different than 2D.
When you first told me about it, it reminded me of the paintings in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that.
Yeah, exactly like that. We're moving into Harry Potter territory, universe reality.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And so I learned a little bit of After Effects, and then I also learned how to produce music.
Yay!
And I will show.
Oh, what is that? A scary, heavy-looking machine.
We got MPC Live 2, and I have been learning how to produce my own beats on it, and I really kind of like doing it like after work, after like filming and editing and drawing and all this stuff that I consider like work.
Eye strains.
Yeah. With this, I can I literally, I don't consume anymore. I don't watch movies. I don't watch anything. I don't do anything other than like create at this point. And now I create music as well. And like, I think it's really cool to be able to like see your art as more than just a 2D image or a painting or whatever, to see it as to see it move, but also to see it move with like your own music or music in general. In this space too, a lot of people are collaborating with each other. So 3D artists are collaborating with composers and musicians are collaborating with all sorts of artists, and it's not just 3D too. So I think that's really cool. That's one of the like more interesting things about the school we went to at Art Center. Whenever we got the chance to work with other majors, we were in illustration. We produced some of the more interesting things.
It's magic.
Yeah.
I remember you said one time it was magic.
It's really cool. So like, we as illustrators, we are really great at making really beautiful imagery. We compare that with an environmental design or basically architecture person. You create a really cool looking building with really beautiful graphics on the outside, like murals or whatever. And then, or you combine that with film, you can board far better than directors usually don't know how to board. They know what they want visually, but most of them are not like Scorsese. They don't board their own things. They're not like Miyazaki. They don't board
Ridley
their own
Scott.
things. Yeah. So I think that's really cool too, to finally see people from other disciplines coming together for this thing, and like seeing like what this people are like using AI to create like 3D people.
What?
React to you when you speak.
Whoa.
Like you can, we can't even fathom what this tech could possibly do in the future. What if someone has the ability to program and create this AI piece of art that is like a person, a beautiful anime girl, let's say, and you buy this NFT because you're like, ooh, I want a waifu, and then you put it on a TV in your room and you can literally talk to her.
Whoa.
It's like Blade Runner. So
Wow.
It gives me chills just thinking about all the different possibilities that this thing can do. And on top of all these things I learned, I also learned how to use Discord and Clubhouse. Like we explained, I participated in my first Clubhouse and intimidated everyone. I think all these things combined are exactly why we recommend all the time in like my social media videos and all the time, when it does not matter if something lasts, because artists for some reason are so concerned with if NFTs will last. And then I think a lot of people were gloating about like there's an NFT crash or whatever because like the prices were falling. That's the exact same things happen with what they say about stocks when they fall. Like it's just life, it happens. And when I say like when you are an early adopter to anything, it adds to your skills. And it doesn't mean that like if so-and-so social media website platform dies in the future, it was all for naught. I worked so hard to get this many followers or whatever and like it just died, whatever. No, that has nothing to do with it. It's about you as a person growing with what you learned on that platform. So my best example is Musical.ly. All the people who were on Musical.ly won big when it became TikTok. Everyone who jumped into TikTok when everyone was on TikTok won big. And when Instagram Reels happened, it was so easy to translate everything I learned from TikTok into Instagram Reels and to tell people like, you better jump on this, because if you make Reels before everyone makes Reels, you're gonna grow really fast on Instagram. And lo and behold, that happened. Now it's a lot harder, even if you make Reels, to make them go viral because everyone is on Reels now.
Oversaturated. Yeah.
But if you weren't on TikTok, you had no idea how to use it. You don't even know. And then you waited till Instagram created like a TikTok competitor. You're looking at Reels and you're like, I don't even know how to make content for this thing. What do people do? And all this stuff. So every single platform that we've jumped into, even if it didn't survive, we learned something from. So like we couldn't have done TikTok if we didn't try out Instagram video when it first started. The Instagram video was the same way. Where like if you jumped on that ship right when it happened, you probably grew a lot. We unfortunately were working at the time, so we didn't have the time to devote really heavily to that. But the same could be said about Clubhouse and Discord and all these things. If you don't learn how to take advantage of this, you have no idea what's coming next. And I really feel that way about NFTs. Even if it goes away in the future, something is going to take its place, if not better.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Gen Zers, right, who haven't experienced what it was like when something like what is that? Friendster turned into MySpace, and MySpace would be then Facebook, because they probably grew up and became conscious when there was only Facebook, when there was, or Instagram was starting to become a thing. And me remembering those days clearly, like I was a high schooler using MySpace, and then towards the end, as a senior, switching on to Facebook, I knew that this was part of the deal, and it took forever. Remember there was like a Google competitor to Facebook a long time ago, and that got shut down recently. I've been waiting for this to waiting for things like Facebook and Twitter to not be a thing, but they've become so powerful. They know that that's in the cards for them. They're willing to do anything to not die.
And we've reached this point of the internet where we're like, wow, Facebook hasn't died yet. Like,
why are you still alive?
I think a lot of people are asking that. Why are you?
Facebook.
Who uses
this
that
new
anymore?
Decade? You're still alive? What's going on here?
No one cares anymore about you.
And you, Instagram, you're like 10 years old now.
You're kind of getting up there.
Look at all these features. Like, what is this? You're not even Instagram anymore.
You're some weird Frankenstein social media
of 5 different social media apps.
So, in general, I guess the main takeaway is I don't care if you hate NFTs or not. I think I would just advise that people think for yourself. Because, that's what I did, and I learned so much in the past month alone.
You have so many new ideas for NFTs.
Yeah, and new skills. New skills I did not have literally a month ago. And this whole just following the crowd, I don't like. I recently, like in the past year or so, read Animal Farm, and anyone who hasn't read Animal Farm should, because it's a fairly simple book by Orwell, and it can't you can't possibly get more accurate to society than this book, and it's I liken all the people who are like raging against this thing as like sheep, the sheep in the book, where like was it Squealer?
Yes.
The one that like is the propagandist.
Yes.
He's the pig that, you know, goes off and like teaches and whispers things into the ears of these sheep and chickens and stuff. And you don't know what he's teaching them, but then you know that like the sheep, they're kind of dumb and they kind of just repeat what people say. So like when they come back, they're like, oh, Napoleon is great. Every time the pig Napoleon says something, they just go, oh, Napoleon is great. And like they don't even think, they don't even know what that phrase means. They just know Napoleon is great. And then the next step up from there is like Boxer, who's like the hardworking horse, who's just so hardworking that he thinks that like if he works and works and works till the day he dies, that he will get rewarded one day for his loyalty.
No,
He's like a tiny bit more intelligent than the sheep.
I will work harder is his catchphrase.
I will work harder. Every time something bad happens, he goes, well, I will work harder. Eventually he's like, something's not right. Be better than the sheep. Be better than Boxer. At the very least, be the donkey, who's like, it is what it is.
Yeah. Or the cat.
Or the cat, who's like, I'm gonna peace out. Like I'm gonna like mooch, and then I'm gonna like peace out to the place that has more food.
Like my cat.
Yeah, like Biscuit.
Yeah.
Or you can be like Napoleon, but don't fall for the like, oh, Snowball is bad. Like in the book, there's like the pig Snowball, who's the scapegoat for everything. Like Napoleon uses him to just be like, oh, the reason why your life sucks is because of Snowball. The reason why you shouldn't get into NFTs is because bad for the environment.
My environment.
Yeah, and I just like, I don't know. I feel like the moral of all of Orwell's stories is like, please think for yourself. But I actually think Orwell is just pointing out society.
Yeah, life.
He's not telling anyone anything other than like this
is what it is.
Yeah. So yes. The recommendation for this week is Noealz. My recommendation for this week is Noealz YouTube channel. I will have the link down below. He has a lot of information on NFTs and really, really cool blacklight photography artwork. And it's really cool. He's really informative, really chill, cool guy. I have learned a lot from him and a lot of other people. And it's just, yeah. If you're interested in NFTs, watch our videos, watch his videos, watch all the videos. Invest at your own risk, and we will see you next time. Like, subscribe, check out all our content. It helps us out. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to help support this channel by buying some merch. Check out these videos over here to binge all our content, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.